Hey guys, how are you? Sorry, I just had to take care of that troublemaker. So as I promised, I was going to do a live broadcast. I'm going to do them on Fridays now because I know some of you like it, although it's not a majority. But hey, here we go. So no subject today. Is just I'm going to answer questions and we'll take it from there. I've been running around like crazy because I'm moving. I'm sure you can do a good job, DD. Just ban people from the channel if if they start spamming like crazy. Hello everybody. Hello everybody. I hope everybody's well. Hi Colleen. Yeah, Stephanie never got to leave his first job, so having to bounce people. Exactly. Yeah. I like the music. Would prefer some different intro screen. Maybe scenery of Montreal. Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah. I just threw that up. I had that in the can, if you will. So, hope everybody is well. Hope everybody is well. Hello, Oliviu from Romania. Fantastic. Cool. Do you private tutoring? No, I don't do private tutoring, but I do have a mentoring program, which is it's close to that. You can check that out. Um, so yeah. All right. So I hope everybody's well. Again, I've been running around. I had to do all kinds of stuff today related to my move, so a little bit hectic. So, all right. So, is there any questions before we jump into anything? Just let me know. And nice beat on drums. Yeah, it's not a bad beat. Yeah. So, any questions, guys? Because I don't have anything particularly prepared in terms of discussion, except I was reading an article about how they're finding now that remote workers, people working remotely because of this COVID thing, they're actually far more productive or they're more productive than they are when they work in the office. So I think what we're going to see with this whole COVID thing, we're going to see a lot of people, a lot of companies starting to do remote work. A good friend of mine works at a massive bank, and they're even looking at doing that. So when you see a massive bank, new camera, no, Sam. I'm just the lighting. It's just the lighting, setting it up properly. Lighting has a huge impact in terms of video quality. Huge impact. You could take an okay camera with good lighting and make it look really good, and you could take a very expensive camera like this one, and if you mess up the lighting, it will look terrible. So, lighting is the key factor when it comes to video quality. That is for sure, for sure. All right. Hamza has a question. Ask your question. I'll try to answer. Favorite message broker? What do you mean by message broker? Okay. How do you deal with rejects as software developer? What do you mean rejects? You mean being rejected as from a job? Tell me what you mean. Okay, where we go here? Hamza, I'm always wasting time on projects and don't complete because I get bored. Any solutions? Yeah, do projects for real clients who are paying you or who expect an outcome. If you're just doing little tutorials or things on your own, I can see how you'll drop off because you could be getting bored or it could be getting frustrated because the first 90% or 80% of the production of a piece of software comes out quick. And then it's that last 20% that takes forever to get done. So you're probably hitting that forever wall. So when you have a client who's expecting work to get output, it forces you to follow through. It's very important that you follow through and complete the projects. Trust me. Uh, you, you, you have to complete projects. It's weird. I know it sounds weird, but just getting halfway there, no good. I used to say if you're halfway there, you're nowhere. So yeah, you have to complete the projects, and that last little bit is a real pain. Trust me, I know. So that's what I would do. Get somebody else. Do projects for other people, so you're accountable. Thank you, Stefan. Found your mentoring program. Love your program, especially Python one. Stay safe. Andro, NYC. Well, thanks. I'm glad you liked it. You too. Stay safe as well. Is your volume okay? Coming a little low. I'm on full volume. Hold on a second. I'll jack the volume. Had switched to mics. Give me a second. Hold up. All right. How's that? I jacked the volume. Is that louder, guys? Let me know if it's louder. All right, let's see what Didi has to say. I have been reading about employers installing software where they can watch employees work and they demand people to leave their webcams on. So the middle, yeah, I heard about that too. They've been doing that for a long time on these remote working places. Yeah, well, listen, if you work for somebody full time, you're going to have to deal with, what they want you to do if you want the job. You're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to deal with showing up at a particular place at a particular time. You have to deal with the stacks that they want to use. You have to deal with all these things. So you have to make the decision. Do you want to accept that? If you don't, then you move elsewhere. Better situation is start your own business, become a freelancer. Freelancing is the business I suggest people first start out with because it gives you a real good idea of what business is and running a business. Is very consistent, whether you're freelancing or SaaSing or whatever. And at the same time, it's easy to get into. It doesn't take a lot of money. You can just jump right into it with your laptop. Okay, it's louder, so everything is okay. Good. Great talk. I heard about that also. Yeah. I think it's crappy personally. Like I have people work for me and remotely. They're all in country. They're all in Canada. Or actually, all in the city. Well, not all of them. I have one guy in California, but I don't follow them. Like my belief is, if I accept somebody to work with me or work for me, I just I evaluate them, make sure they know what they do, and if they know what they're doing, then that's it. I just I say how long is it going to take to do this, and because I've been doing this for 200 years, I know if their estimates are ballpark accurate, and they do it. I suggest if you tell me you're going to deliver on the 15th, deliver on the 15th. Occasionally the people can be late, so I don't micromanage or follow people like that because even if you got a camera on somebody, if they want to pound the pooch, as they say, if they want to mess around and waste time, there's nothing you can do about it. So you have to judge people you work with, whether they're employees, employers, contractors, subcontractors. You have to judge them upfront for the character because at the end of the day, you can't, if somebody wants to mess around, they're going to mess around. So that's I would never do that. I think it's silly personally, but. Hey, Steph, I want to learn web dev, Flutter, iOS, and Android for freelance. Should I narrow it down, schedule time to get practice for each? Do Flutter one day, do Android? I would narrow it down to web dev because you're going to get many more web dev contracts than otherwise. If you try to do too many things at the same time, it's going to take a long time to get competent at anything particular. I tell this story. I learned this a long time ago in martial arts, where at one point, long time ago, I'm like 18 years old, 19 years old. I had been doing martial arts for 8-9 years. And at one point I was training in like 3 or 4 different schools at the same time. So, Monday on this school, Tuesday this school, Wednesday this school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And one day one of my teachers pulled me aside and said, listen, Steph, you've been doing martial arts for quite a while now. And the thing is, you have a lot of intermediate level knowledge, but you're not really an expert fighter yet. You're not so what you got to do is he told me, you got to pick one, concentrate on that. And what will happen is you get really good at that and it will just raise your game across the board. At the time, I did not understand that concept, but I decided that, I said, this guy has been, he's a great fighter. He's been training for a lot longer than me. He must know what he's doing. So I just followed his advice. And sure enough, when I raised my game in one style of martial art, everything else was pulled up along with it. Same thing. I've told people about this with regards to programming. I'd rather hire, let's say I had a job where I was going to do something with JavaScript. And I had a choice between a guy or girl with 1 year JavaScript programming experience or 1 year programming experience. It happens to be JavaScript, and have somebody else who's been doing Java or Python for 5-6 years. I'll take the Java or Python person with 5-6 years, because 5-6 years of coding is 5-6 years of coding experience, and they will be able to jump into JavaScript very easily. I hope that makes the point, right? So there you go. So don't spread yourself too thin, Don't spread yourself too thin. Maybe you answered already. Do you think unit tests are important? Unit tests are important when you have a code base that is pretty solid in terms of the specification. I would not be, I get into arguments with people about this. I would implement, because if you have a really quickly changing code base, you're an alpha, and you're constantly changing your methods and restructuring things, unit tests will actually get in the way. When you have something that's kind of solid, you got a solid piece of functionality. Okay, this is how this method's going to work, or this is how this class is going to work. Then you can wrap it with a unit test to protect its functionality. So don't go crazy with unit tests like anything else. They're periphery, they're meta, they're kind of that's not a right word, but they're periphery in terms of the coding. Okay, what do we got here? What should I do if I delay a freelance project? How should I deal with this situation? So what do you mean? You got a client and you're supposed to start producing a project on Thursday, the 15th of July, but you won't be able to do it until the 30th. That comes down to, I guess, because you're busy or something. That comes down to the relationship you have with your client. You tell them in advance, say, listen, I'm backlogged a little bit. I apologize. It's going to be an extra 2 weeks. Is that okay? 95% of the time, they'll be, it's okay. So, and if they give you lip about that, maybe you might want to drop them as a client, because when the crap hits the fan, they can give you all kinds of grief down the road. If that's the scenario you were talking about. How are we doing here? All right, good. Let's see what Julio has to say. Do you believe to build apps like Instagram, Snapchat, you need to go native? No, because you look at the... I have both the native Instagram app, and I also have the web. I think it's a PWA on my Android device. And sometimes I forget, I'm using the PWA. Yeah, the native is slightly better, but I don't know if it's really a function of the fact they're using web tech there, or it's just they have to update and improve that implementation of the web version of Instagram. That being said, it's very hard to tell the difference. I have to think twice about it. I'm using the web app here, So the short answer is most of the time, no. I think you can do a lot with web technology. What's going on? Okay, let's see what he has to say here. Should there be more of an emphasis on backend or front end for a high-performing app? Snapchat uses Google Engine. Well, it depends. It depends on what you need it to do, right? It's all very circumstantial, meaning it depends on the app that you're building. If it's a lot of database stuff, then of course it's backend. It's going to be the issue. What are your thoughts about creating apps that can screen for symptoms of COVID-19? Seems to be ideas out there, but many questions regarding privacy. I don't think screening for an illness is a privacy issue for me, because you're screening for an illness. But if you're checking out to see somebody's browsing history, that's a problem for me. That being said, the app for this type of situation, for a screening app like this, it has to be automatic somehow. And if you're requiring people to do something, to input something, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Like up here in Quebec, they just implemented something that it's just crazy dumb. It's like you have to send in emails and sign up with forms and stuff. It's just the silliest implementation of some sort of COVID tracking thing. That all said and done, I think that this thing might burn out quicker than you might imagine, especially now that summer is coming along. I think you could. This is where I kind of use my little lowest common denominator tactic. This is what a lot of entrepreneurs do. What entrepreneurs do and good coders do, good developers do. When you're looking at something, you try to reduce the problem solution, if you will, down to its simplest component. So with the COVID situation, what I would do with that is say, okay, what's the problem? The problem is old people get sick and die. People who are infirm, heart problems, diabetes, get sick and die. Younger people, the chance of you dying if you're like under 50 is 1 in 10,000 or something. Like I think I don't have exact numbers. So using just basic tactics, you go, okay, your problem group are these groups. So these are the people you have to protect. Number one, right? So that's the first thing I would do. Next thing you do is say, okay, how do you prevent the spread? Well, you say social distancing, wearing masks, maybe gloves, that kind of thing. And if everybody would just sort of did that, it was kind of like a passive thing to do, more or less. It's a lot easier just to put on a mask and keep 6 feet away than to have people filling in information on apps, right? My experience in the technology world, that's difficult to get people to follow through on these things on a consistent basis. So that's what I would do, and that would probably have more of an impact by isolating the people who are going to be who could die, more likely die from this, and just implementing some basic protocols like that. You're probably going to get a lot more done than having people trying to fill in apps and trying to track people, because all you need is like a small percentage of the people who don't fill in the app properly, don't use the app properly, it messes up the whole protocol, right? So that's pretty much it, What else do we got? Lambda serverless or normal RESTful API for social messaging app. That's a very good question. I haven't looked at too much of the serverless solutions out there, options that are out there, so I'm not an expert in that area. My instinct would be to have a more traditional architecture that was supported by serverless solutions on top of that. But again, I have not used serverless tech in a commercial way. I just looked at it briefly, so I take what I say with a grain of salt in that regard. How to get started in UI UX? Like nowadays, we have so many Comic Con images used in website. How do we build that? Well, first you learn your basics of the code so that you understand how to implement a particular style. And then, UX and UI are two different things, although they do cross and are related. UI is user interface, UX is user experience. You can have a UI that's very simple, like Craigslist, but has very high level UX. So the user interface is really boring and just text only on Craigslist. So I'd give that like a 1 on 10, but its UX is like almost 9 on 10. That's why it's successful. I always tell people that UX is more important than UI most of the time. So how do you get into it? You learn the basics, the basic how to implement in code. And then you just study UI principles, user interface principles, which is a lot of it is derived from old design principles, alignment, white space, one font face per page, using sans serif for body text, serif fonts for header text. Then you got UX, user experience, and you look at user experience lessons like consistency, in terms of the placement of clickable elements. Don't have buttons that are orange on one page and green on another page. Don't have buttons that are round in one part of your site and triangle shape on another part of the site. I'm just using kind of basic examples. But just learn those basic principles. There's plenty of articles and videos on there. And just start implementing. If you implement with that basic knowledge, then you can go a long way. We have some old articles and some of the old killer sites. They're consistent, by the way, right? UI and UX principles are consistent today as they were 15 years ago. I hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. Why instead of fixing Node.js, they make Deno? Because software developer nerds like to make new things. Yeah, all right, so there we go. Dee Dee is on the job. Don't mess with her. Thank you. Thanks for taking care. We don't want too many. All right. Hey, Stefan, I want to become an Android developer. I like React Native, but I don't know if I need to learn native Android development with Java and Android Studio to make money to become successful. Follow the money, follow the market, as they say. You look out there, if you look at Android jobs, see what they're asking for in terms of skill set. Are they asking for Java? Are they asking for Kotlin? Take a look at that. Are they, let's see, you want to do native development. So there you go. Just go to Indeed.com, look for job listings in your area or wherever you want to work and see what the requirements are and take it from there. Hey, here we go. Hey, Stef, I know HTML, CSS, Vanilla.js, but no framework yet. Should I start Freelancer and wait, learn React, seek stable developer job? If you know your basics, I always tell people getting those freelance gigs, the first couple of them, is part of the learning process. It's like jumping into the ring and actually fighting, right? If you hit pads all day, I'm using a boxing analogy. If you just hit pads all the time, you're not really learning how to fight. Now that you got your basics, fantastic. Now you're ready to jump into the game. And then you let the jobs that you get dictate which frameworks and what to learn from there. Thinking of giving up learning code. I think I'm not smart enough. Trust me, you're smart enough. If I learned how to code, somebody with a design and psychology background, you can learn how to code. If you hit a wall, just give yourself a day break and just do 20 minutes a day. Trust me, one day, if you just keep pushing, one day it's all going to click and fall into place. It's really weird. It's really weird that way. You're going to be like, I don't understand any of this. I don't understand any of this. And then one day you wake up, oh, it's really that easy. So don't worry. It's good too. When I tell people, whenever you face something that's hard, you know it has value, right? If it's easy, it has much less value. So if it's hard, that's good. It's also good because you're training your brain to work in another way. So I'm guessing you're probably more of a creative designer type. So if you can come into this and get past that hurdle, that will go away. Once you get past that coding hurdle, that bump, it becomes easy. And then you'll be able to combine the power of your design skills with some nerd skills, and you're going to be very, very, very in high demand. So don't give up. Just power through it. You're going to be fine. Raphael says, I'm 1 year into learning and want to start freelancing. Yeah, you should start freelancing. My question is, which backend framework, language, etc., would you recommend for a one-man team rookie freelancer? Well, I would start looking around, see what the jobs are, see what the freelance jobs are. I suspect you're probably going to find a lot of PHP, a lot of web, as opposed to native iOS or native Android. Again, just start checking out the job opportunities out there and start fishing around. Assume that you have this experience. You should be able to pivot into anything, given the demands. I'll give you an example. My first back-end developer job, where I was actually writing server-side code. And at this point in time, so I get a call from a client of mine who was it was a new client. And they had written an early version of a social networking app. And this is like the 90s. And at this point, I had not written back-end code before, except for the simple CGI scripts with Perl. So hardly a full-stack developer. Anyway, I go into the meeting, and they show me what they had done. They had developed another company had developed a social media app, and it was written in Perl CGI, and it was a big mess. And the previous company had been working on it for about a year, something like that, and they couldn't get it to work. So they were booting them out, and they wanted to bring in this somebody else. So they brought me in. I took a look at it, and I never wrote server-side code. Like for me, I had a hard time understanding the difference between a relational database and a spreadsheet. That's how novice I was in terms of server-side coding. I had done client-side coding, but not really any app developments. Anyway, long story short, I used the power of my noodle, and I gave him a bid, and I said, I'll get this done in a month. Now, at that time, I had been looking I hadn't coded in yet, something called Active Server Pages. Just came out, it was just brand new. And I said, we're going to rewrite from scratch, because I looked at their code base, and I had done a little bit of coding, enough to know that the code base was a total disaster. So I said, we're going to rewrite from scratch, and we're going to rewrite from scratch in 30 days. Now, I took a bit of a risk there, and they said, 30 days? We've been working like a year and a half. I forget what it was, a year and a half. And he said, how are you going to do this in 30 days? I said, well, I'm using a brand new technology. It's far more performant. You get a lot more done. I said, so they went with it. I convinced them they sold. So I got my check for half up front, which was a lot of money for me at the time. It was a big client. And so I got the check. I went to the bank. I deposited a check. And then I walked over to the bookstore and I pulled out books on ASP, databases, blah, blah, blah. So I had 30 days now to learn ASP and databases and design, and then to deliver this first version from scratch. So there you go. So I was able to pull it off. I just sat down having that deadline looming, and it goes to a previous question on this live stream, had a major impact on me. And I was able to deliver the product within 30 days, and it worked fantastically. Now I was lucky because ASP had just come out, and it was an order of magnitude more performant in terms of write time than the previous Pro CGI solutions everybody used. And that led to a court case, and I talked about this in an old video about they were sued. It was all kinds of craziness. But there you go. So I don't know how I got into that, but yeah, you just got to jump in. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so you're going to freelance, just jump in, man. You got a year background writing code. Just learn as you go. No big deal. You can do it. That's how you're going to learn. Of course, when I learned how to fight the first time, I just jumped into a ring with a guy with a record of 77-0. He beat the crap out of me, but I learned. Hey, Stef, I want to start. Okay, here it is. I want to start freelancing. How do I secure myself from people who will exploit my lack of business experience in financial and other matters? Eric. Yeah, very common. When you first start freelancing, they're going to experience business people are going to sniff out your noobness in terms of business. That's for sure. So what you got to do is you got to have contracts in place so that everybody knows what's expected in terms of your association with this individual. So you have contracts in place, and I refer you to my freelance course. It has 5 contracts, working templates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's number one. Number two, I always suggest when you get out of the gate, first time you freelance, do 1 or 2 small, underline small freelance jobs for free, and run it like you were running a real project. And using my templates as an example. And that's going to give you a lot of learning experience, how to manage the client's expectations, how to manage deadlines, etc. But yeah, that's a very good question. Short answer, upfront with expectations on paper, signed. Everybody gets a copy, so everybody knows what's going on. Why do you have a contract? To clarify the relationship. It's also leveraged. It prevents scammers. It will help keep scammers away, people trying to take advantage of you with the typical scams, which I talk about in my course. But yeah, good question. Here we go. Vabe I don't know if I said that properly. I probably didn't. All right, let's read. How to get your first client as a freelancer without prior job experience in MERN, MLRP, developer category. Also, GitHub portfolio is fine right now. Or should I just put up a website and do SEO stuff? Put up a website and then start reaching out to people. Do both at the same time. You know, it's not a one or the other. Do both at the same time, but put up a good-looking website. Because remember, especially if you're freelancing, small business owners, they don't know they don't even know what GitHub is probably. So, you know, nice looking website. It has to look good. They're going to judge you based on the quality of your website. I always tell people that. And yeah, make sure you don't have any Ruby on there, because you put any Ruby on there, you're going to lose all kinds of jobs. I'm watching Knight Rider. The TV show? All right. Okay, we got that one. What are books? That's true. What are books? What are my books? Yeah. Some subjects, you know, I've written a book. I've done tons of videos, articles, podcasts, audio only. Certain subjects lend lend itself better to video, some better to written word. Depends on the subject, right? What to learn first, MERN or React? Jobs, it's all job specific, wherever the jobs are. Learn what, if you follow the approach that I preach, where you learn your fundamentals, you go out there, you start freelancing, you get paid to learn quick. You can learn better. Like several people posted on these live streams and elsewhere. They said that they found that they spent a year or two learning at school or tutorials, and then they learn more in a few months just doing a real project. So do a real project. If you wanted to do web design, just use tools like Webflow, which does have a learning curve. Do you think you can survive as a freelancer? I don't know. You have to check it out. I think that if you can bring in a functional skill rather than just design skill, meaning you can implement not only the design front end, but also implement shopping carts, whether you do something from scratch or plug in WordPress or use Shopify, or you can bring in a social media strategy for people. The more you can offer as a freelancer, more opportunities for jobs. That's for sure. If you're narrow in your focus, if you say, I'm just a UX UI guy, then you better be really good at it. Really good at it. So the thing is, if you have a broader set of skills where you can provide more of a full stack, you don't have to be super efficient in any of one of them. The fact that you get a stack of skills makes you much more marketable. That being said, I know some people are fantastic UI, UX guys, like the guy who redesigned StudioWeb.com for me and StudioWeb app to StudioWeb 5. He's fantastic at UX UI, but he's also a full stack as well, although he does 95% of his job is just UX UI because that's what he prefers. But the fact that he has full stack skills makes him better at UX UI because he knows how to deliver the files to us in a way that the developers don't start having kittens, right? Having kittens is an expression meaning getting angry and frustrated. Hey, I'm developing using Kotlin in the studio. Should I switch to React Native? I already developed in using MongoDB, Express, and Node. Follow the jobs. Let the jobs tell you. It depends on the jobs. All these tech are pretty good depending on the circumstances, right? I like to make the analogy of do you want a Porsche Cayenne SUV or do you want a 911? Well, if you're driving on the beach, you want the Cayenne. If you're driving on the highway, you probably want the Porsche 911, right? What's the best cheap laptop for a beginner programmer? Any laptop. You can get a 5-year-old laptop and it will be more than enough to write your code. So, probably even older. Charlie says, hey, Stef, you said when learning, we should practice breaking our code and fixing it. How can I break it without knowing what's broke? How can I break it without knowing? Well, no, because you don't break because you don't want it. No, it's not. No, okay, I get that. No, it's good to break it yourself so you can see, oh, I did this. I didn't close the string and look at the error message I got. Or this is a logical error. Or I was testing for greater than when I was looking for less than. And so when you do a controlled break that way and you see the error, you see the behavior of the app, it's very, very instructive, right? Because you're going to start seeing patterns. Oh, so let's say you don't put a semicolon and you do this in 5 different places and you're going to start seeing a consistency and your brain's going to start making connections. So when it does happen for real and you see that pattern emerge, you go, oh, that could be a semicolon, right? So you want to break it in a way that what caused, what broke. Because trust me, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to have unknown broken code. You know what I mean? Please use contracts, guys. Darren P says, when I started out 10 years ago, I did a month of good work and they blocked me without paying. There you go. That's exactly what it is. That's why I tell people you got to 50% up front or 50% on the completion, no matter what, or 33%. The best way to get paid is 33% up front. 33 when they sign a contract that you got to check, 33%. 33% when you deliver the first draft, and 33% of completion. The second option is the best because to go from signing the contract to the first draft, it's like this. To go from after the first draft to completing the project, that could take months longer because you're going to have to wait for them to send an image to you or to give you feedback. So the way I suggest that you collect that 33% breakdown, you get 66% of the money very quick. And I don't know what's going on here. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Hello. Speaking. Yes, what can I do for you? You could. I'm on another call. Could I give you a call Monday? Tuesday is fantastic. Yeah, that sounds perfect. Fantastic. Yourself? Okay, thanks very much. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You too. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Sorry, guys. One of my banks, I was making sure something went through today. So we're all good. We're all good. Okay. Very professional presentation here, right? Do you still enjoy software development? I don't write code anymore. I inspect code when I have to. I architect. I manage the project. But I made a decision a long time ago whether I was going to stay the coder, developer, or to go into architecture management, because you can't do both at the same time. Because when you're in the code, you're deep into it. It's very micro, if you will. And when you're in the management end of the spectrum, it is very macro. So I don't go into too much. I set the standard. I choose the frameworks. I choose the coding methods, et cetera, et cetera. And then I have my lead developer take care of the implementation. Once in a while, I check in. Once when I get a new developer in, I'll check out what they do. Little code checks every now and then. Once I see that they know how to write code according to what I prefer, then we're good. Bob's your uncle. I don't have to get into that, right? Yeah, so at some point you have to decide whether you want to stay developer, you want to go into management and so forth. It's a personal choice. I have some friends who did very well just staying as coders. Other people prefer not to. What do we go? Do you recommend Cold War sites? No, I do not. I think they're kind of the Cold War sites. I think it's kind of like what's the word of it? It's a gimmick. It's a gimmick. If you want to learn how to really code, just write code. Just get in there and get a freelance job. Do something for free. Trust me, you're going to learn much more than any Cold Wars. Cold Wars may seem like fun, but doing real projects and seeing a real project being used by a client is much more satisfying, and you'll get paid is even more satisfying. The difference between Java and JavaScript, the only reason they have similar names is for marketing purposes. The languages both came out around the same time. And JavaScript is a scripting language that is used. It's primarily in a web browser, now a little bit on the server. And Java is a compiled, a far more broader, more powerful language. The only thing that they both come from the C family of languages, so they have a similar looking code in a way, but they're very, very different in all other respects. Will SharePoint online sites overtake traditional internet websites? I don't think so, no. Artur says, hi, Stefan, good to see you again. Hope you're well. I'm good. I hope you're good, too. Yeah. So, what's up, Steph? Okay, thanks. Porsche, I'd be havoc with a Civic XD. Yeah. You know what? You might be more happy because I have like a I have a German sports car. And let me tell you, whenever I go in to fix the oil, it costs you $500. It's very expensive to have those cars, besides the initial purchase price. Job offer revoked due to pandemic. H-1B visa filing is canceled. Oh, that's bad news. Don't worry, it's going to pass. If you got if you got an offer, you're going to get another offer. Just start doing some remote freelance work in the meantime. Trust me, if you already got one, that means you're going to get other opportunities. This is going to pass sooner than later. Any updates on your thoughts on Flutter? Have you tried out Flutter more yet? No, I haven't. So I haven't looked at it in a while. I don't know where it's at now in terms of how the community is adopting and so forth. When I looked at it a while back, I just liked what I saw. Do you understand your own code? You better. If you don't understand your own code, then you're not writing good code. Code has to be simple and understandable. Well, sometimes no. For freelancers, Node.js the way to go. No, I think you'd be better off with PHP, PHP, WordPress, PHP Laravel. But if you can find freelance Node.js jobs, then that's great. Is it better to learn new things via online courses and stuff after your 9 to 5 during the day, or should I devote a holiday vacation days to studying full time? Which is more effective? I keep your I just kind of keep your hands constantly looking around, especially in the first 4 to 5 years of your development career. Dabble around. I used to dabble around. I used to spend about $3,000 to $4,000 a year on books. This is before the whole video thing came around. And whatever on Friday or Thursday nights, mess around with some new technology for a half an hour, just playing around. Just play around. What else do we got here? Stef, so you expect lots of people getting into an already saturated job market this year, next year. How can I stand out as a junior dev? I don't know if the market is saturated. Let me tell you, when I was a former mentee of mine, and he worked for me for a while, and he was actually one of the developers of StudioWeb. He went and opened up a startup several years ago, and recently they did another round. They raised about $10 million, I think it was. And some of the VCs were from San Francisco, some of the top players in the world. Like, this is a company I mentioned to you guys in the past. That Google invested in them, amongst other big players. Anyhow, I was a reference, and the VCs called me from San Fran. And one of the big questions that they were worried about, what is the developer talent like in Montreal? Is there a lot of talent here? Are they going to be able to find people to do the work? That was a major concern. Like, they ended up investing millions into this company. And one of their major concerns is whether or not they could find the talent. And it's a big problem. So if you're good at what you do, if you're pretty good at what you do, there's plenty of work. I studied programming 30 years ago. Then I became an IT tech. Funny how careers go differently than you expect. I can retire with 20 in one more year. I've learned C# and Java, second career. Yeah, if you like, I assume that since you've been in the game for a while, I would imagine that you have a lot of contacts in big companies. So if you're going to go C# Java, that means you are going to be working for larger corporations, generally speaking. So I would, again, let the job market dictate which way you go. But yeah, it's definitely an option. If you want to do something different, why not, Thank you, sir. But another doubt I had is how a portfolio website should look like. I have projects on e-commerce, social network, clone. I'm not sure what I said. Just make sure it looks really good. And then just get your first project. Start simple, whatever you can get. Do 1 or 2 for free. Little ones. Don't do a free job it takes you a month to do. So, something that'll take you, 4 or 5 days, 3 days, just to start building up, a resume, a little reputation. All right. Yeah, well, no, polite, I guess so. You know what? If you ever dating anybody, and the person you're dating is like somebody new girlfriend, new boyfriend, whatever, and they treat the waiters and waitresses like crap, or they treat the tellers at a store like crap, dump them because it's going to come back at you. Do you think it's important to be a hipster to successfully run a company? Maybe. I don't know. To successfully run a company, you have to manage your money, you have to be consistent, and you have to be level-headed. And you have to be willing to admit you're wrong. Those are the qualities. If you're going to be a hipster while doing all that, then fantastic. But I hear you might have to shave your head, though. For a person who don't have real experiences, do you think open source contribution can make the difference to get a job? It can help. Why not start doing some contributions there? But again, my big advice is to do some freelance jobs for free. Just do one or two. You're going to learn a lot. Besides you learning, you're going to develop some reputation. Okay. All right, what do we got here? German car. I guess Nazis won. I don't know. Only very few Germans were Nazis. What path would you recommend for a Latin developer wanting to live in Canada? That's interesting. Contact the Canadian consulate, see what they have to say, see what higher your education, the better. They're looking for that, but good experience also plays a big role. And if you have good experience and if you can start creating relationships with Canadian companies through freelance, remote work, then they'll maybe bring you over and get you in on some sort of visa. Supernova. Stef, do you get recognized in public places by your fans? Fans. I do get recognized. It's happened a few times. It's weird. And I have people now staring at me more and more than usual. Or it could be because of that, or it could be because I'm just going crazy. It's hard to say. Okay, how did I get that guy twice? Okay. Watching from Azerbaijan. Keep it up. Good to see you. All right, cool. Well, thanks for watching. That's what I love about this whole thing. It's you're talking to people from all over the world. It's quite a lot of fun. What you learn in these live streams, I've learned a long time ago, but the motivations of people around the world are pretty much the same. You know, the differences are far, far less than the similarities between cultures and people. Steph, are there any books you would suggest for a beginner in computer programming and Python? Well, I would, of course, suggest if you're a beginner, total beginner, do my courses because that's where I concentrate and that's where my strengths are. And then from there, I would suggest there's a book I don't have it here in front of me. Once you do that, jump into projects. And then the book I would get is a refactoring book. It's in the link below. It's Java-based, but it's going to take your coding skills from here to if you just do that book. Okay, well, Colleen's got some here. Steph, what do you think about using backend as a service? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Backend as a service, using backend as a service. Are you talking like a microservice? Anyway, okay, let's go on. Is Portland, Oregon the new hippie state? Colleen, ask Colleen. She'll know. Stefan, which programming language or framework or any IT technology you have or have personally the most fun with? Oh, that's a good question. Probably in my career was Java, but I wouldn't suggest Java today. Probably in my career was Java because at the time Java was like the language that it just worked. You wrote your Java code, it just worked. It was very, very dependable and it was very satisfying, you know. And Java was very powerful, had a lot of capability as well, and it ran really fast. So it was. I'm telling you guys, when you build an app or you build a project and it's being used by people and they appreciate it, there's no bigger buzz than that. It's a lot of fun. There we go. Let's go. Something for college students. Well, okay. Where is that? All right, that's not it. Is it? I'm not clicking well today. Will AI and ML steal our bread and butter in next 10 years? No, no chance. There's been a lot of overhype with AI and ML. Trust me, it's going to have a huge impact, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a long way from that. It's gonna be an enhancing technology that supports what coders do. So no, it's not a threat to anything. All right, how are we doing for time? Oh my God, it's 51 minutes. All right, so there you go. I think we're good. Let's see. All right, Steps books. Easy. Steps books are excellent for beginners. I think he meant to put an F there. But thanks for putting that, Thomas. I appreciate it. Dee Dee's doing a good job. Fantastic. I knew she would. It was either Dee Dee or Colleen. They were both going to do a good job. And other people too. A guy who did the moderating last time, he did a fantastic job as well. So it was good. Much cleaner feed. All right, guys. I'll answer a couple more questions and I'm out of here. Don't like PHP. Think it's declining. Should I learn it? Let the jobs dictate. If you go freelance, you're probably going to be doing a lot of PHP though. All right. Has this COVID-19 helped the IT industry? It's going to boom the IT industry. Once we get out of this, people are going to start doing more distance everything, which means more IT, more tech. I think it's a very good thing. This COVID thing sucks right now, 2 thumbs down. But once we get past it, I think we're going to get past it. Well, we're obviously going to get past it. But I think we get past it sooner than you think. And it's going to change the way we structure things a little bit, which I think will be advantageous for anybody in the tech space. That is for sure. Stef, what technology to use for freelance? That's going to have to be in my video FAQ once I move. I'm going to have to put that together. The web stack. All right, guys and girls, thanks for joining in. Okay, 115, 45 thumbs up. Come on, give me some more thumbs up. And would appreciate it, and it helps me with the Google algorithms. And thanks to Dee Dee for the excellent moderation here. We got a nice clean feed today. All right, guys, have a good weekend. Enjoy yourself. Take care. Wash your hands. Don't breathe on anybody. And we're good. We'll talk soon.